All right, let's dive into something that sounds, well, completely backwards. We all know South Korea is this absolute giant in the tech world, right? A hotbed of innovation. But what if I told you that if you're trying to launch a medical AI company, it might just be one of the hardest places on the planet to get started? Yeah, let's unpack that paradox. So that's the big question we're tackling. How on earth can a country that's so far ahead of the curve in technology also be one of the most challenging spots for what's arguably the future of medicine? It just doesn't seem to add up. But stick with me because the answer reveals this really brilliant, almost counterintuitive strategy. So, to really get what's going on, we first have to appreciate the sheer scale of the revolution that's already underway. This isn't just another little tech trend. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we fight disease. The potential here is absolutely immense, and so are the stakes. And if you want to know why this matters so much, just follow the money. The global market for medical AI is set to explode, reaching nearly $188 billion by 2030. This isn't just about saving lives, which is huge, of course. It's one of the biggest economic opportunities of our time, and you better believe everyone wants a piece of that pie. Now, at the very heart of this whole revolution is something called precision medicine AI. And the idea behind it is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. We're moving away from that old one-size-fits-all approach to medicine. Instead, this tech looks at your specific genetic code, your medical history, even your lifestyle, to figure out the absolute best treatment for you, especially for really complex stuff like cancer. It's healthcare made just for you. Okay, so if the opportunity is that massive, why on earth is it so difficult in South Korea? Well, it's because innovators there aren't just entering a new market. No, they're trying to breach a fortress with walls that were built, maybe even intentionally, to be incredibly hard to get through. And anyone who wants to get inside this fortress has to scale 4 very specific, very high walls. You've got the wall of regulation, the wall of data, the wall of profitability, and last but not least, the wall of mistrust. Let's break down what each of these really means. First up, the wall of regulation. This one's a doozy. In South Korea, medical law is super strict. So strict, in fact, that if an AI program gives a direct diagnosis to a patient, it could be seen as an illegal medical act by an unlicensed practitioner. That means you can't just go and build an AI doctor. You have to completely rethink what your product is even for. Next, you run smack into the wall of data. And look, any AI is hungry for data. That's its fuel. But in Korea, patient data is locked down tighter than Fort Knox. You've got these strict privacy laws, plus all the patient records are stuck in separate, disconnected hospital systems. Trying to get your hands on the huge, unified dataset you need to train a great AI, it's a massive, massive challenge. And this leads us to the third wall, profitability. I mean, just look at this chart for Lunit, one of the top medical AI companies in Korea. A wild 86% of their revenue comes from outside the country. Why? It's because the national health insurance system just doesn't really pay for AI services. So making money at home is, well, it's next to impossible. And finally, even if you can get past all of that, there's the wall of mistrust. You can have the most brilliant technology in the world, but if doctors don't trust it, it's totally useless. And doctors are, quite rightly, very cautious. They're worried about accuracy, they're worried about the cost of bringing it into their hospitals, and here's the big one, who's legally on the hook if the AI gets something wrong? Earning that trust is the final and maybe the toughest barrier of all. So, yeah, the fortress looks pretty much unbeatable, right? But here's the clever part. For every single one of those walls, there's a key. And the companies that are actually succeeding aren't trying to tear down the walls. No. They're strategically forging the exact keys they need to unlock them. And these keys, you'll notice, perfectly mirror the barriers. To get past the walls of regulation, data, profitability, and mistrust, the playbook is partner with the government, use data given by patients themselves, create totally new business models, and build that trust with cold, hard proof. So how do you unlock that first wall, the regulation one? You don't fight it, you work with it. The smart move is to position your AI not as the final decision maker, but as a doctor's assistant, a tool that gives an expert more information. Then you take advantage of government innovation programs, these regulatory sandboxes that give you a safe legal space to test and prove your tech works. Okay, and what about that data problem? This is where it gets really clever. Instead of trying to break into all those different hospital systems, you just go around them. You go directly to the source, the patient. South Korea has a national platform called My Healthway that lets patients control and share their own health data. So, by getting consent directly from patients, companies can get the data they need, both legally and ethically. Now, to solve that profitability puzzle, you have to think way outside the box. If the traditional system won't pay, you find new customers who will. So, strategy one, you partner with pharmaceutical companies. You can license your anonymized data to them to help speed up their research. Strategy two, you partner with insurance companies. You run pilot programs to prove that your AI actually saves them money in the long run by catching things early. And finally, how do you earn the trust of skeptical doctors? You prove it. You don't just tell them your AI works, you show them with undeniable evidence. That means running pilot projects with the best, most respected hospitals, publishing your results for the whole world to see, and this one's huge, getting a stamp of approval from an international body like the FDA in the US. That kind of global validation speaks volumes. Whew, overcoming all those hurdles sounds absolutely exhausting. So, why would anyone even bother? This is where we finally get to the core of the paradox and the incredible prize that's waiting for anyone who actually manages to conquer the fortress. This is where the whole strategy just clicks into place. It all comes down to this one powerful idea. The very things that make it so tough to get into the market, all those walls and regulations, they completely transform into a powerful protective barrier once you're on the inside. They become your defensive moat. And there it is, the paradox in a nutshell. It's brilliant, really. The biggest challenges you have to overcome, all those walls you had to scale, they flip around and become your greatest competitive advantages. You've built a company that is perfectly designed for this unique, tough environment, one that outsiders can't just come in and copy. Which leaves us with a final, fascinating thought to chew on. By navigating this whole complicated system, a company doesn't just manage to survive, it builds a market position that is almost unshakable. Because if the very walls that were designed to keep people out are now the things protecting you, who in the world could possibly compete?